Okay, I see the recording has started. Welcome, everyone. This is the March 9th meeting of the Sault Ste. Marie Downtown Association. I am Chair Kristi Cistaro. In attendance tonight, we have our staff members, our Executive Director, Salvatore Marchese, and Nicholas Luck. For board members, we have myself, Kristi Cistaro, Paul Mason, Kelly Walker, Nicholas Rosset, Angela Romano, Frank Gaccione, and Paul Scornaienchi. I don't think we've missed anyone. I know we have regrets from Lisa Vezeau-Allen tonight. From the public and our city partners, of course, we have Tom Vair. We have Chris Pomeroy from KPMG. We have Sonny Spina, it looks like, on the line, as well as from the media, Dan Gray and David Helwig. So welcome, everyone. We might as well get started. We have a pretty heavy agenda tonight. I don't think I missed anyone. I'm just going to do one more double check. Nope, that looks like everyone. Okay, so thank you. So I'll call the meeting to order. Second item on our list is the approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any concerns or things to mention regarding that agenda? Okay, no takers. I will move that we approve the agenda. Can I have a seconder? Angela Romano. All in favor? Okay, that's 5. Next is declaration of conflicts of interest. Does anyone have any declarations to make regarding conflicts of interest on the agenda items for tonight? Okay, well, I have one. I am going to excuse myself from the discussions regarding the Poutine Fest budget approval, agenda item number 11. For the purposes of that discussion, I will leave the meeting and Paul Scornaienchi will take over as chair. Salvatore, once that discussion concludes, I'll ask that you give me a text message and I'll rejoin the meeting if that's okay.
Yes.
Excellent. Anything else then of note regarding conflicts? No hands, we'll move on. Next item, sorry, I'm just making my notes here. Next item is the approval of the February 2022 meeting minutes. Did anyone see any omissions or corrections that needed to be noted on those minutes? I thought they were quite clean. Good job. Okay, I will move that we approve the minutes as written. Can I get a seconder on that? Kelly Walker. All in favor? Hands up. That's 5. Great, thanks everyone. And next we will move on to the executive report. Salvatore?
Okay, hello everybody. So for the February 22 executive report for last month, I started off with security services. Our security patrols continued through February with 3 inspections a night. There were 0 incidents to report. The RFP has been awarded, and we'll discuss further the security when we get to that agenda item. And the city is still looking at getting the ambassador program going. I'm also following up on the comments to reach out to the new shelter that opened to see if there might be some correlation with their opening and the reduction in incidents. And speaking with them, they had to say that they have been quite busy. The shelter is being utilized quite a bit, but they would like to hold off for a couple more months to see if there's consistent data before making any comments, but they're willing to come speak at that point. The 0 vacancy program we've been working on. So I had talks with Tom Vair at the city. They thought it was a great program, a great idea. We are at the point where we just, it's been suggested we have somebody from legal opinion look at the contracts to make sure everything is okay. We have the letter and everything ready to go out to the landlords so they can see if they're interested. And I just thought I would mention that we have had a pretty good month for vacant properties. We had 3 properties that rented out. So that's a positive sign of things going on. Our AGM is tomorrow night. I know most of you have registered to be there, so it'll be at Sue Blasters. Registration starts at 6 and the meeting should start at 6:30 p.m. With police services, we had the first of our quarterly meetings. This was something they had proposed that we could start getting together to discuss certain things that are going on with them and us. We asked about the dynamic patrols and they said they are still continuing, but that with other things going on, it's been a reduced patrol, but they do plan on it coming back to where it was in the summer as things warm up. There was also talks of how they might be able to assist with the security in the ambassador program. They would just like some information on it. There was also talk during the SEPTED walk last year of having a more thorough walk done again, and they just asked for a little time to do some training and then have them come out to do that. And they also said if there's anything the board wishes for them to discuss or you would like to ask them, to just make a request before the meeting and we can invite them to come to that meeting. The Lightbox Project, which is also on the agenda, we'll get to. This is something that's being led through the city and they wanted to bring it to the board so everybody was aware of the project and are just looking for feedback and any comments on it. You all should have received the event schedule for summer 2022. The events will start on April 1st and runs through Moonlight Magic in November. We also drafted up a sheet for volunteers to sign up for the different events. We could use all the help we could get throughout the year. Any help is appreciated. And then for in-person meetings, originally I thought we could do a hybrid, but after speaking with Kristi, it's more of a question of if the board would like to resume in-person meetings or if we want to continue online at this point, but we have the capacity to do either or.
So just to give everyone a little bit of context, in order to facilitate a hybrid appearance, the folks that would be in the in-person setting would all need to be mic'd in order for the remote attendees to hear the dialogue. And to have multiple microphones in a room requires some fairly sophisticated audio equipment, or else you get a feedback loop and no one hears anything. I have some experience with this, so I was just able, just before the meeting, to share that with Salvatore when I saw it in his report. So I think the question before the group is, do we wish to resume our in-person meetings starting in April, or do we want to continue for remote appearances? Does anyone have any comment on this before we put a motion before the board? No, nobody's going to have anything to say about that.
Yeah, Kristi.
Yeah, Frank, go ahead.
Yeah, if we have Salvatore's laptop set up, that mic from the laptop will accommodate everybody in the meeting. That's the one mic.
No, we've tried to do that before. We've had
I know that's how we do it at the steel plant. We don't have multiple mics. We just have one mic set up.
So I know we had in the early days of the shutdowns, we had a couple of members still attend in person, and they were inaudible to those of us that were remote. I don't know if you remember that. I'm happy to suggest that we maybe test it out and see if that's an option.
Yeah, I just don't want to force anybody if they feel uncomfortable to come to a meeting, because I would probably recommend that we have our in-office meetings. But if there's still somebody who's hesitant, or even for somebody who's out of town, like Paul or somebody is usually out of town, that gives them the option to log in. So if there's some way, we got a month to work on it. If there's some way we can work on it and offer people both options, I think that's probably the best way. And I think it's plausible that we can do that. I know we do, like I said, I know we do that at work. We just set up our laptop and at the end of the table, and everybody else in the meeting sits in front, and whoever's offline or whoever's virtual can see and hear everybody. So, okay. But like you said, we can try it.
Thanks, Frank. Nicholas, you had something to add?
Well, I guess first of all, I would prefer to be in person, and maybe a solution would be, I mean, I'm sure we all have phones. You can log in with your phone and just simply unmute yourself, like participate virtually on your phone, even though you're physically present there. Just unmute yourself if you really needed to be mic'd at a certain point, and then remute.
Okay, I understand that in theory it sounds like a fairly simple solution. Because I've done this in a courtroom setting, I can tell you in practice it tends to be very
Okay, I have no
complicated.
experience with it. It just seems ideal if we could make it work. But
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we need to have staff set up a situation where we could test it and see if we have a boardroom full of people, if our existing equipment is sufficient, or if there's some reasonable workaround that would allow for both in-person and remote appearances. Salvatore, can I leave that with you then to discuss or to investigate?
Yes, yeah, we'll try a couple different things and let everybody know.
So for the purposes of the April meeting, though, is the wish that we begin in-person attendance again? Okay. So does anyone want to put that to vote? Does anyone have a motion that we want to discuss, or can we just put it to a vote?
Well, I would say, like, again, I don't want to. If we prefer in person, absolutely. But if someone still feels uncomfortable, then they should still have that option. I don't want to. If someone doesn't feel, if there's two people that don't feel like they can do it in person, we should say, okay, we're not going to do it in person. Instead of eliminating those two, if we can't have it in person, it's pretty much got to be a mutual agreement where we can get everybody on board, or because to eliminate one person because they don't feel comfortable coming to the boardroom, well, then that's the way it is, right?
Well, I think what you're suggesting, Frank, might benefit from a bit more contemplation in terms of a policy, and what our sort of official policy is and how to facilitate that if we can. So, are we willing to lose quorum if we can't facilitate remote and in-person attendance, those kinds of things. So there might be a larger discussion for that to be taken offside and brought back to the board. Paul, you had your hand up?
Is this more of a technological problem right now?
Sorry, we got two Pauls. Paul Mason, you go first. Paul Scornaienchi, you're next.
Is this more of a technological problem right now rather than people wanting to be in person? I think, is it more of a having the ability to mic up everybody and do that properly? Is that our main concern right now?
Well, my concern is the technology, but I think Frank has highlighted that, it would not be unreasonable for us to have a policy or some sort of contemplation in place of how we can facilitate this going forward. Is that fair, Frank? I don't want to take the words away from you.
No, that's good. Like I said, I don't want to leave anybody out or discriminate against somebody because they don't want to come to the office. So if that's the case, then let's stay virtual. But my preference would be back in person. That's just my personal preference. I mean, there's other people who has their own, and but what I would prefer, so if you need any help, I can help you with that. I'm sure Paul Scornaienchi is waiting to get on board because he's probably been through this 100 times where he can set up something where we can do both. And that's why we got him on board, so we can get everything we can out of him. So I'm sure we can set something up.
Okay, Paul Scornaienchi, go ahead.
Okay, so I have something on both of those items. So we participated in a number of teleconferences recently where the board room table has been open yet again, and thankfully. And that technology isn't very expensive, but what it is the requirement, or for what we've utilized, which is just basically a portable system with a number of of small little wireless speakers in front of each individual is a moderator that's required in order to turn things on and off while individuals are speaking. And you know, to what Nicholas was alluding to, works, you know, with the telephone, that would work. And of course, we're all professional. We're not, you know, barging into each other's conversation and, you know, duplicating, you know, our conversations all at once. So both of those things work, but it's still, you know, the technology aspect requires a moderator, and as much as our staff will be taking a look at a solution, a technical solution for it, we should, you know, also keep in effect that we might need to have a person look at it and view it, or be there to ensure it's on and off. As far as what Frank was indicating, you know, we're back at the boardroom table, and here we were, you know, 2 years of COVID, and a lot of our bylaws were, I'll say, forgiven in the way that there was prior to COVID. We were not able to call in via teleconference and vote, right? But COVID didn't allow ourselves to physically meet, or it was all teleconference, so we had no choice but to run our businesses for our membership, and we were able to do that. So now that we're back to the boardroom table, do we change our bylaws indicating that for those individuals who are not comfortable, as Frank alluded to, coming to the table, is that a voting board member? So I think it is a little bit more. It's not much, but it's a little bit more than just the technology.
Okay, Frank, go ahead.
Yeah, and I agree with Paul. Had a good point there. Like, I mean, because of COVID, we've stepped ahead into things that we normally wouldn't have stepped into. And I don't think we're going to go backwards. I don't think a lot of businesses are going to go backwards. I don't think you'll see banks go backwards and say, okay, we're done with the signing, we're, you know, the virtuals. I think everybody is going to stay where they're at. And I think we should stay there too. If that requires a bylaw change where you can vote virtually, which we have been over the last 2 years. So we should literally be in our bylaw because we've been doing it. And in some situation where this does happen again, we're ready for it. Our bylaws are set for it. So let's just keep it on board. And I'm saying we just move forward with what we have and improve on it. So, and if it entails having a little bit more equipment in our boardroom, then we'll get a little bit more equipment in our boardroom. I don't think it's something that's is not recommended for more board offices. You'll see that a lot on different boards are going to have that. So I think we're moving forward, and we just should keep moving forward on that point.
Anyone else? Scornaienchi?
Sorry, just to add on the technology end of things, I think Digital Main Street will probably end up covering some of that, if not all of it. And I think that we're still, you know, available to dip into those funds. And I'm sure that OBIA has been running into this scenario, you know, beyond just ourselves. And I'm thinking that Digital Main Street might help there.
Anyone else? Okay. So I am going to put before the board then that we move to in-person attendance starting the April meeting with a request to staff to confirm that we can facilitate it via our technology if we have remote attendance, and put the beginnings of a policy together with consultation with the city clerk's office, because I know they were involved in our ability to move to remote voting and remote appearances. So we'll want consultation there as well. Can I get a seconder? Angela? All in favor? We're going to see our faces in person next month, everybody. Thank you for that discussion. Long overdue. Okay, sorry, Salvatore, I feel like I jumped in on your executive report there. Was there anything else you wanted to mention before we move on?
No, that was the last item.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Next is our downtown security discussion.
Yes, so this changed just a little bit since the agenda went out, but it fits properly under this category. So the there was a vendor that was selected. So we have Sonny Spina here to speak to that tonight, and Tom can speak as well. But we've had a couple meetings about how the patrols are going to work, but we thought we'd bring it to the board so everybody could understand. The only request we have is that if anybody's comments are as to like specific areas we need to target, if you could forward those to me separately as we're compiling a list, and we'll give those to the company.
Okay, so welcome Tom and welcome Sonny. We appreciate you joining us for this discussion tonight. This is an exciting initiative that's been in the works for quite some time, and we're delighted that we're at a point in the schedule where we can proceed. So gentlemen, I open it up to you.
Great, thanks, Kristi. Maybe I'll go first, and I can turn it over to Sonny. As Salvatore said, we had a RFP process to identify a company to do the security patrols, and N1 Solutions was the successful company for that RFP. Salvatore and Sonny and I had a few discussions and kind of kickoff discussion about the service, and we're looking at it starting up in the near future. I think we've got a date that Sonny can share in terms of when it will start. I can also share that as part of the bid process, N1 had included an offer to have an additional 7 hours of security in the evenings on the weekends, or if there's a special event, they're flexible to covering that event with notice. So there's an opportunity for that within the security services patrol. Again, just reminding people, this is 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. security patrols in the downtown core. And we've got a route that will be working. But I think the key thing in talking to Sonny is that, we have the ability, to be flexible. There's some unique ways that they can ensure that the routes are being patrolled and any hotspots are being identified and followed up on. And I'll turn it over to Sonny, and he can provide a little bit more on their service and what they'll be providing throughout the course of the next year. I should mention too that we set this up as a 1-year pilot project. There's 6 months a pilot to kick it off, and then we can reevaluate and renew for 2-3 month subsequent term, depending on how it's going. So treating this as a learning exercise and seeing what the best way is to help provide security and safety in the downtown. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sonny.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate the introduction, and thank you for the background on that. Really appreciate it. I'm very excited to speak with all of you today. I'm actually excited to hear that everyone's going to meet in person next month, and I hope to be able to attend there as well. And at that point, give you an update on how things are going. Like was mentioned earlier, my name is Sonny Spina. I'm with N1 Solutions. I'm the Managing Director of Security. Very excited to provide a security solution for downtown and to provide these services at least for the next 6 months, and then reevaluate and move forward from there. As we mentioned earlier, I know that there's going to be a lot of information coming from you folks and from your partners and business colleagues and friends in the downtown core. And I want to make sure that we get all of that information. I want to make sure that it comes in the right way and that we're able to act and react appropriately to that information. So Salvatore, thank you for volunteering to accept that information and funnel it to me so that we can direct resources. One of the things I want everyone to know is how adaptable we are. We have the ability to change on really quick notice. We have the ability to adapt our service model to suit your needs. So I recognize that right now, we may start this patrol in certain areas that we've identified as hotspots, and things may move as we progress on through this project. That's okay. Notify us of that, and we'll be able to adapt and change our services. We have a lot of unique technologies that are going to be able to help us, and these technologies can evolve with us as we move on. So one of the technologies, in fact, is using special RFID tags, which we can place in very specific locations of the downtown core to ensure that the patrols are hitting the spots that you all share with us that are important. And we can program certain functions into those tags. So for example, if we picked a door on a building and said we need to make sure that that door is locked every time we see it, we scan our tag, a report is going to come up that says, please ensure this door is locked. We can add photographs to that report. We can add notes to that report, and we can send them all off in real time
to the appropriate people. For example, if something needs to go to the Board of Works for a cleanup, if something needs to go to police services, if something needs to go to, a mechanical division, we can do all of that. We can automate all of that. And this program is really going to learn with us as we evolve this program, and it's only going to make it better and better. What it allows us to do is get a lot of analytics afterwards to provide you folks so that you know exactly what's going on with calls for service and reports in the downtown area. And we'll be able to provide that to you on a monthly basis as well. Now, aside from that, I know our RFP included a lot of other technologies that I would be more than happy to talk with all of you about on an individual basis. Those technologies did not form part of this bid, but however, if you're interested in learning more, I am more than available to you at any time to come in and talk to you about any solution that we may be able to offer all of your businesses.
Thank you, Sonny. I'll open it up to the board for questions or comments. Frank, it looks like you're first. You're muted.
Sorry, you're on mute. Yep. Next month, we won't have to do that.
That's right. That's right. This will be the last. I hope. You never know. You never
Yeah,
know. Never say anything. So I hope you're doing well, Sonny. I know with your experience, you'll be able to come to the board every month and say how things are going, and obviously give us points and views on things that you can do to move forward, and actually a learning lesson for us, as well as sorry, your patrols. So we'll be changing every month. So if you guys are the experts, you're saying, this is what we found, and recommend that we do this. And obviously the board will look at it and, perfectly go ahead with what you're doing. Secondly, you mentioned that your firm has a lot other stuff, and I'm sure the board would love to hear that. And if you're going to be attending our meeting next month,
yep.
Sal, maybe we should put on board on the agenda, give Sonny some time to elaborate on these other techniques or other solutions that we might be able to use during our events or sometime during whatever we do during the year. So we'll be way more than excited to hear what you have to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'd love to prepare a presentation for you and show you all of everything that we have to offer. And certainly if something suits your needs, absolutely there to fill it.
N1 Solution, is that a subsidiary of another company, or is that?
No, actually N1 Solutions is the parent company. Included in that is Norpro Security, our Norpro Technologies division, which includes Unique Data Systems. We also have Spear Business that's involved in there. We also have Norpro Environmental, which includes Lajoie Brothers as well. So we have a wide variety of services that we can provide across a whole bunch of different fields. So pretty much if there's anything you need, we can do it. From photocopiers to feet on the ground.
Angela Romano was next, and then Paul Scornaienchi.
Yes, this is all very exciting, and I'm happy to see that we're proceeding with this. One question I did have is, if your team notices maybe a number of incidents happening, is there opportunity for sort of an education piece to be provided by your team that we can share with our membership? Like, say there's a pattern of activity happening. If I'm always looking at the communication side, so if there's something that we can pass on to our membership to help them secure their property or anything like that.
Yeah, I absolutely love that question. Thank you for that. Absolutely. So we start seeing a trend, we're going to let you know right away through the executive here. We're going to let you know that we're seeing certain things happen. We're seeing an increase in a certain amount of reports that we're getting in areas. Keep in mind, our staff, certainly they don't mind coming in and moving people along or checking premises. But certainly if something is evolved, if the situation is evolved outside of their scope of work, they're going to call the police right away. Right. But we're talking about situations that you can do to keep yourself safe or keep your business safe. We're going to give you as much as we can to be proactive on that.
Great, thank you.
Paul Scornaienchi, you were next.
Thank you, Kristi. I first want to put a very big thank you to the City of Sault Ste. Marie, working with our staff for this RFP to this success. And Sonny, congratulations to you, and I'm glad that you're well. Just want to let you know that this board when we were, going through the process prior to your arrival and part of this team, that we didn't see this as just our membership and everything that we can do for our membership. But this is a community involvement that we have here as this board. So we just want to let you be aware that we're going beyond our membership here with you. So we want to make sure that our community is safe and healthy, and anything that we can do with you, that's what we'll do.
Thank you for that. Those are incredible comments. Thank you for that. And it's interesting when many people get together with a shared vision, you can achieve amazing things. So I'm very sure we all share the same vision here as being a safer community for all of us. So I'm very excited to work with you towards that.
Anyone else? We have more in attendance tonight than can fit on my screen. So if you have your hand up and I haven't called your name, please speak up. Okay, if there's nothing else, then I will thank Sonny for his attendance tonight, and we look forward to having you in person at next month's meeting, and we'll continue our discussions. So,
wonderful.
Sonny,
Yes.
when is the start date for this?
Sorry. Yes, my apologies. I forgot to mention that to you. Sorry about that. We are looking to kick things off this weekend. Right now, putting some specific training in place for our staff for where the areas are that we want them to hit and exactly how we want them to do patrols. We certainly don't want people simply just driving around in a predetermined route all the time. We want to keep it fairly random and mix it up. So we are doing a little bit of specific training with our staff on how we want them to randomize it a bit. What I need from you folks over the next several weeks is your feedback on where some of these priority areas are, so we can start tagging them properly. I will tell you this: when we start tagging things, we have learned over the years there is not as much value as you think in putting 1,000 tags out there, because you'll never find them all. You get much more value out of putting some fewer very strategically placed tags, so that we know where people are going and we know exactly where to go to make sure we're hitting those spots. Otherwise, things just kind of get lost in the shuffle of everything. So the more, if several of you send in very similar locations, we may condense them into one, which helps all the efficiencies on that.
Question to Tom or Sonny. Have we been in touch with city police, indicating to them where we're heading with this and our start date and their input on what we're doing?
Yes, personally, I've reached out to them, had some conversations, and looking forward to continuing those conversations with them as well. The police will be a great partner in this moving forward as well.
Excellent. Anyone else then? Last call. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, folks. Look forward to working with you soon.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the Lightbox Project. Salvatore, can you introduce our presenter?
Yes. So just to let everybody know, this was supposed to have been presented by Virginia McLeod, the manager of recreation and culture, but she couldn't make it tonight. So we do have Tom here to answer questions, but we still left it on the agenda because the city is moving forward on this project and we didn't want to hold it over till next month. I don't know if everybody was able to review the presentation, but the idea behind the project is putting boxes either on the sides of buildings or behind them in the alley that are illuminated that will feature artists' work. It's a project that was developed, I believe, out of Algoma University, and it has some promise in where it's been implemented before. The main goal of tonight is to just have some, if anybody has questions, to let Tom know, and that way the city can respond with any concerns or support for the project.
Great, Tom. We've got questions already. Hands up already. Tom, was there anything you wanted to say before we put you in the hot seat right away?
Yeah, sure. And hopefully I can answer your questions. I talked to Virginia last week about it. Salvatore said the project is part of our city studio engagement with Algoma University. So we've got different university classes that are looking at different aspects of the community and how to improve it. And so this one is one we're excited about, and the Cultural Vitality Committee has supported the project in terms of supporting the cost of the signs and the installation of those signs. So we do have that support for the project, which is great. And I think as staff and the Cultural Vitality Committee was all excited about the potential to have these really attractive light boxes installed in the downtown, showcase artists in the community, and really, I think, act as a real beautification element to the downtown as well. So happy to answer any questions that I can, and if not, I'll take that back to Virginia and follow up with everyone.
Okay, so we have Angela, then Paul Scornaienchi, then Frank, then Paul Mason.
Okay. Actually, this is appropriate timing for this. We've returned back to work at the Travel Information Center, and the other day we had people in from Egypt, and they were quite curious about the murals. And we tried to download some information from the city website, and there wasn't anything super easy to print as far as showing where all the murals are. And now with these light boxes, I'm just going to make the suggestion, perhaps if there would be a PDF or something like that, that we could print that shows both the locations of the murals and these light boxes, since they are kind of similar in theme with being art related and artistic, cultural, that type of thing. If you want to bring that back to the city, that would be great. Because yeah, like I said, it wasn't very easy to find something to give out to tourists.
That's a great suggestion. I definitely will take that back. I'm just making a note here on my phone. So thank you for that. We will do that.
You're welcome.
I think I said Paul Scornaienchi was next. Go ahead, Paul.
Tom, this is absolutely fantastic, obviously, and we're glad that you're presenting it, even though we would love to have Virginia present it, instead of yourself, but it's okay.
You would do a much better job.
Yeah, for sure. Just was wondering what the infrastructure would end up being. Is this like a solar powered thing? Is this something that we need to provide power from the building? Is this a DTA powered thing? How does that infrastructure work?
Yeah, I did talk to Virginia about that piece. And so the initial light boxes were envisioned to be powered by electric utilities. And the money that was approved would cover the cost of the light and the installation. So what we would be looking for is the building owner that hosts the light box would cover the electricity costs, which we think would be fairly minimal. They're LED lights that illuminate the signs. But that would be the one contribution for having the signs affixed to the building.
And then, that final infrastructure item is on a structural point. The City of Sault Ste. Marie Building Department would likely want to have an engineer, take a look at the brickwork, the pin work, all of that necessary stuff in order for it to be in compliance to load. Is that something that the City of Sault Ste. Marie will do for free?
Yeah, that would be part of the installation work for the project, and each one kind of sized up in each location. As you see in the presentation, there are some examples from other communities that somewhat similar idea has been implemented. So, we'll pull from those best practices and figure out the best way to make sure these are installed safely and everything's done properly.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I think I said Frank and then Paul.
Yeah, hey, Tom, who's going to facilitate the pictures? Is it going to come through our office or through the city? And like, who's going to pick which ones go where and that system? If somebody wants to post their print, how do they get to do that? Will they have to come to our office, or is it going to be run through the city? Or are we going to be? So how is that all going to be facilitated? On which photos or which prints are allowed to go into these light box? Because it's a great idea, and we do have a sponsor. I'm not speaking out of line with the downtown. I mean, our association, we'd have to talk about it, but we do have 4 or 5 meters around the downtown core that we may be even able to sponsor a light box ourselves. So
Yeah, and that is a good question, Frank, and I probably will have to confirm the details. My understanding was that the initial artwork was going to come from the students in the fine arts program at Algoma University. That's not to say in the future, I don't think we couldn't look at having other artwork featured in there. And certainly we would work with the building owner to make sure, you know, they were on side with whatever artwork would be going into the Lightbox.
Paul Mason, you're up.
Okay, this is an amazing project. Totally pumped for this. It's going to be great for the downtown. One minor little question is, will this be like plexiglass on top of these light boxes? 'Cause my concern is people being dumb and damaging it. Do you have that in place to protect it from vandalism?
Right. Yeah. The light boxes themselves would have the plexiglass in them, and you know, are fairly robust. So we think they'll last.
Angela, I see you had your hand up.
Yes, just one quick question. Would there be a period of time that the art remains and then it rotates to different artists?
That's right. Yeah, we'd be looking at refreshing that artwork, so it keeps it, you know, dynamic.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Is there anyone who has their hand up that's not on my screen that I haven't mentioned your name? Okay. Thank you, Tom. This is a great initiative. I think it's going to be a wonderful addition to our downtown, and I think we're really becoming an art destination in our downtown. And I think it's a great addition. If we have any members that are interested in volunteering their buildings, should they reach out through Salvatore to the city, or what's the mechanism for that?
Yes, that would be great. If maybe they could reach out through Salvatore and he can get in touch with Virginia, that would be much appreciated.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Oh, Angela, I triggered something else for you there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just one other thought that came to mind, the on-the-spot tours that we have. I don't know if it's possible to add these to any of the existing tours, or if they are ever looking to add to the on-the-spot app that locals and tourists can take advantage of. It might be something to look at as well.
Great. Anyone else then? Okay. Thank you. So next on our list are the audited financial statements. I know we have Chris Pomeroy from KPMG with us this evening. Thank you for joining us, Chris.
And Kristi, I'm going to sign off. I think that's it for my presentation tonight. So thanks everyone for your time.
Thank you, Tom. Have a great night.
Take care.
Bye, Virginia.
Thank you. Bye.
All right.
Chris, are you with us? There you are.
I am here.
Hello.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
All right. So I understand you all have the draft financial statements, the draft audit that's being presented for approval tonight. What I can do is, as I normally would, is go through a brief highlight of the key items in the financial statements, changes year over year, and we can go through that and any questions that you may have in terms of the audit itself. Would it be best if I shared my screen to walk through that, or you want to present?
That would be great if you don't mind, Chris.
Okay. All right. So the financial statements this year, in terms of the audit, we have no significant items that we need to bring to your attention that we would be required to communicate. So we do our audit as we have in the past based on auditing standards, and we set our materiality to set our scope for the procedures that we do. So this year, as in past years, we've used total revenue as our basis for our materiality. And Our materiality for the year was $6,700, so that's our maximum materiality. But anything in terms of an audit error that we were able to determine as a part of our procedures that was greater than $330, we would be required to communicate to you. Now, we do provide some accounting assistance with preparing the financial statement information to be presented in the form that they're in. Those are not considered audit adjustments as in errors. Those are regular accounting year-end adjustments that we do provide assistance with based on information that's provided by management. So we have no items that we need to report in that regard. But in terms of the statements themselves, the audit opinion is a clean audit opinion and drafted with today's date as the proposed audit report date. No changes in the content of the report that's presented there. So in terms of finalizing the statements, aside from this meeting, we would need a signed representation letter, and we do anticipate being able to sign off the statements using today's date. Generally, it takes a couple days in order to get the final statements out, to get all the sign-offs on our end done once this meeting is completed. In terms of the statements themselves, the statement of financial position will go through some of the key areas. In cash, there was an increase this year from 56,000 to the end of 2021 at 82,000. Most of that relates to a surplus that was achieved during the year, as well as some receivable amounts that we had recorded last year for grants that were receivable at the end of 2020 that were received during 2021. And you'll see that on the third line where we had receivables of 30,000 last year. And this year, based on the timing of when those funds came in, were just over 9,000, most of that relating to HST. So most of those funds were in your cash balance by the end of the year. Your term deposit, the same as previous year, has been reinvested. The small amount of interest that was earned there has been reinvested again for another year. Accounts payable at 11,000, consistent with prior year, about 10,000. That's based on the timing of accruals and items that are payable at December 31st that will be paid after year end. And your total financial assets, or your net financial assets at the end of the year, is $122,000. You have capital assets of just over $10,000, and that includes office equipment as well as some items in your street speaker project. There was some disposals in that for items that are being replaced, but not a large change in your assets going forward. And then prepaid expenses is your insurance that you have from January to January. So overall, accumulated surplus for the association is 133,000. That's up from last year by about 13,000 from 120. And to get there, we'll see on the next screen, your statement of operations, the activity during the year. Certainly a change from 2020, where we saw a significant impact due to COVID. So on the revenue side, an increase in revenue back to higher amounts from previous year at 274, up from 158 in the previous year. Most of that related to your assessment levy from the city being back up. Last year it was reduced in recognition of the activities that were happening with COVID. So your assessment base is back up again. You did receive grants during the year for cultural events, as well as your wage subsidies, which help offset some of the wage increases that are noted farther below. You did have some more events this year, and hopefully as you go into 2020, you'll be planning for even more of those, but $12,000 for event revenue that occurred during the year. On the expense side of things, with the increase in revenues, you did have an increase in your expenses correspondingly. So wages and benefits up from 103,000 last year to 157,000. And as you know, in the previous year, you did not have a full-time executive director. So Salvatore has been in place for this past year, so that did correspond with an increase in your wage expenses. The previous year had been decreased. Other expenses are fairly consistent, rent and other operating costs. You'll see that your events expenses did increase with some of the grants that you received, as well as the revenue and sponsorships. For those events, you spent just under $47,000 on events for the year, and the other operating costs, again, pretty consistent with the previous year. So the one capital asset disposal that I did mention on the previous page, it's about $2,300 that was disposed related to the speaker project. But overall, a surplus for the year of $13,000. The previous year, there was a slight deficit of $14,000. Yep. We'll skip to the statement of cash flows just briefly from your operations. Your annual operations generated about $19,000. With the changes in your working capital, the changes in accounts payable and accounts receivable, and the timing of those items, overall for the year, $29,000 in cash was received with the association. You did reinvest $236 of interest in your GIC, and you used just over $3,000 for tangible capital assets. So overall, your increase in cash balance for the year was just over $26,000. The remainder of the statements are the notes, the required disclosures for accounting policies, and additional details on the financial information. There's no significant changes here in terms of the presentation or the items. We've covered off the additions in some computer equipment as well as the disposal. And on the grants, there were some municipal grants as part of that almost $69,000. Part of that came from the city for cultural grants. There were wage subsidies through NOHFC and the Canada Summer Grant, as well as some other grants that were received. And then offsetting that in your wages and benefits, you'll see the breakdown of the $157,000. There's 106 in regular wages, and then just about 51,000 in wages that were related to the wage subsidies that you received. Aside from that, your accumulated surplus, 133,000 in total. Of that, 10,000, almost 11,000 is included in your tangible capital assets, leaving 122,000 as your operating fund surplus that is available for future periods.
Thank
Well, that
you.
is a quick summary, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I'll open it up to the board. Does anyone have any questions for Chris regarding the financial statements as presented? Paul Scornaienchi, hands up first. Go ahead.
Just a couple of things, and Chris, I'm not even sure if they belong. But first, very big thank you. Great to see you every year. With regard to two comments that you made, when we're looking at our revenue and individuals and our membership, and especially our membership 5 years from now, takes a look at a 2020 revenue of 115,000 and a 2021 at 192,700. We know what it's all about, and you just described it as, that this board had voted that there would be relief due to COVID for the levy. Is that something that we should footnote there? Do you recommend that?
And certainly that's something that if you wish to have additional disclosure, that would be at your discretion. It's not required or something that we would normally see as part of those notes, but certainly they are your financial statements. If you did want to provide additional breakdown of the, let's say, the usual levy and the amount that was adjusted for 2020, that could be additional disclosure if you wanted to include that.
Perfect. And we could do that internally. And I guess my next question is the exact same when we're looking at wages and benefits and, again, the membership may take a look at that 49,942 in comparison to the 106,121. We know that we have a full-time executive director, and thankful to have Salvatore as our leader. We could footnote that, I suppose, ourselves as well, right? Like internally.
Right. I think for the most part, aside from these statements, like to your point, those items may be good as additional information available to members should they ask. Yeah.
Excellent. My only last question is with regard to the assets, and if we, well, I'll choose a real life example. We have a snowblower, and it was donated to the association. Is that something that you end up putting in as a tangible asset and in depreciation, etc.?
So generally, something like a snowblower as a donation generally is too small. Generally, that we would consider it is something you could put in there as a donation in kind, not something that you had to invest your own funds in. Certainly, we're able to put it in there. Generally, as a capitalization threshold, you may look at something around $2,000. You would start capitalizing, depending on the item. But it's a possibility, but I don't believe it's currently in there.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Chris. Thanks for your work.
You're welcome.
Who's next? Is there anyone who's square I can't see that wants to make a comment that I haven't mentioned your name? Okay. Oh, Frank, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Not too bad, thank you.
Just maybe a note or something based on the changes that we've made in our offices. How did your firm find the information we provided for the audit, and going forward, is there anything that we can do internally that can help the end of the year, or are we heading down the right path? Or
Right. So in terms of the assistance we received from staff, no issues with the information we were able to receive or being able to get the information that we needed. We do know that, and as you know, you had some changes in the bookkeeping aspect of your financial information for the year. So that did slow some things down in terms of getting everything prepared. That would normally happen in a situation where you have a change like that, and going forward, understanding that some of that bookkeeping will be done in-house. You'll certainly have more control internally on how that's processed, but no comments or observations that we have coming forward in terms of how things have been managed, and certainly everything seems to be well organized and in place. When we asked for anything for our audit procedures, the information was readily available.
and on behalf of the board, Chris, we just want to thank you guys for all your help and to the organization in that transition.
Thanks, and you're welcome.
Anyone else then? Forgive me, Salvatore, procedurally, we're voting on these statements tomorrow, correct? We don't vote on them tonight?
Well, the board votes to adopt them tonight. They just have to be presented to the membership. So the vote would come from the board.
Okay, pardon me. So last chance for comments or questions then for Chris on the audited financial statements as presented. Okay, then I will.
Just one,
Oh,
Chris, will you be attending tomorrow? You normally
Yes,
do?
I will. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'll put a motion before the board then that we accept the audited financial statements as presented by KPMG. Can I have a seconder? Frank Gaccione. All in favor? Show of hands, please. That's 5. Kelly and Nicholas Rosset, I can't see you. If you wouldn't mind.
Yes, hands up.
Okay, perfect.
In favor as well.
Excellent. So that's unanimous. Thank you so much, everyone. I will thank Chris for joining us this evening for this discussion, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow at the AGM. Forgive me, that acronym was eluding me there for a minute.
Very good.
Yes, thanks so much, Chris, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Thanks. Have a good evening.
You as well.
Kristi, I have to leave. I have another engagement that I have to attend to, so I will see everybody tomorrow.
Okay. We're still good for quorum even when I duck out. Salvatore, did you have your hand up?
I just wanted to mention before Frank leaves, the next item is the CIBC account closure, and we were waiting for Frank to be here before we moved forward with that from the last meeting.
Can we do that now?
Yep. So Salvatore, bring us up to speed, please.
Yes. So basically, from last meeting, we've discussed whether or not the board would like to close the account at CIBC. All the checks that were outstanding have cleared the bank. I've spoken with the bank. They understood that we were exploring the option of closing, and we would just need the board to decide if they would like to do that and if they would like to also move the GIC over to Community First.
Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, Sal, I think that's a great idea. I think we should, I'm not sure if it's normal practice or whatever, but indicate to CIBC why we've left, and maybe send them a note or to, I don't know if you know the manager or whoever we're dealing with there, and explain to them that what our association required was achieved at the credit union, and that's the reason why we left, and no other reason. And yes, I think we should bring everything over to the credit union, and they can do that internally. They can transfer the funds. We don't have to get involved. You just indicate to them that we want to transfer our GICs over, and we sign it, and they'll do it themselves. So I recommend we move that all over to the credit union.
Anyone else have any comment? Paul Scornaienchi, go ahead.
My comment would be something of protection. They were wonderful, obviously, and Frank is correct. We should give them a thank you as being part of our business team. But in the same breath, we're all responsible with our DTA on a finance point of view. And I'm thinking that all the directors would love to receive a letter from CIBC indicating that we're absolved of whatever it is financial responsibility wise with that institution, because we're about to join another.
Okay. Anyone else? Frank?
And just to let everybody know that what I've seen so far from the credit union is pretty amazing. I know maybe Sal could elaborate a little bit more how things are working internally with our new banking system. Sal?
Yes, things are going quite well with the new banking system. Our ability to receive and pay bills is much more effective. We are able to do online payments with two-person authorization. Just this past week, we've extended it now that we can pay employees through online banking with two-person authorization. So it's just streamlined our ability to receive invoices and take care of them, as well as receive funds from some of our smaller vendors who rent equipment and things. They can e-transfer us payments. The support from Community First has been great. Bobby Joe, our contact there, is very helpful anytime we need anything. Overall, things are quite pleasant so far.
And even internally, we do have a credit card now, so our petty cash is very minimal now. Anything we do need, we can purchase on the credit card instead of having to have an invoice come in and then submit a check or whatever payment to it. Now we can do one payment with everything being recorded on a credit card. So everything is. This is the way I seen it coming down the line. So it's almost there now that we got our payment for our employees. That's even one more thing or one less thing that has to be done internally. So I think it's working out well. So it was a good move.
Any other comments then from the board before we vote? Okay, so I will move that we proceed with closing the CIBC account. and transfer our existing balance or our remaining balance that's there, along with the GIC that I believe is coming to maturity in April, to our new service provider at the credit union. Can I get a seconder on that? Frank, all in favor? Show me your hands, folks. Excellent. That looks like everybody. Wonderful.
All right. You guys have a good evening.
Okay. Thanks, Frank.
All right. Thanks.
Next item on our agenda are the financial statements.
I just wanted to make everybody aware there's one error on the financial statements, and that is the costs under events for other event. That line should be blank. That was just a holdover number from last year, but anything else I can readily answer if people have questions.
Okay, I took a quick look at the P&L. Does anyone have any questions for Salvatore? If I'm not calling your name, you might not be on my screen, so please unmute yourself and let me know. Okay. If there's no questions, then we'll move on. So the next item is the Poutine Fest budget approval. So I am going to excuse myself at this time, and Paul Scornaienchi will take over as chair of the meeting. Salvatore, please give me a text when I can join back in. Thanks, everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kristi. We'll give you a minute. Okay, wonderful. Welcome, everybody. Salvatore, I'm sure that you have a lot to add to this for conversation. Please go ahead.
Yes, so this has to do with what we're spending on Poutine Feast this year and some of the money we've asked for in grants. Everybody should have received the budget that we've developed. So at its very core, we're not asking for any additional funds out of our budget. We need to just reaffirm that we are committed to the 6,000 we approved in the budget. This number you see on the draft, the 37,000, the rest of that would be coming through grants that we've applied for. We have gotten confirmation on 5,000 so far from CDC. And then the other ones, Reconnect, we're going to be waiting about another month to hear back on. The TDF goes in next month, and the motion that has brought, or the need for this discussion item is the NOHFC money. They need a specific motion from the board for our application to proceed. The only thing that would change here, so you'll see when the motion's read aloud, is that if there was a cost overrun, that the association would pay that cost overrun, but there would be no expenses outside of what we are budgeting unless we received the money as a guarantee or like confirmation of the money coming in to the account.
Wonderful. Thank you, Salvatore. Angela.
I might have to declare a conflict on voting if it's the NOHFC because I work for the province. I've never come across this particular, well, I didn't realize that that's who we would be petitioning for funds. So I might have to abstain from the vote.
Respect that totally. It could be perceived, and we respect your decision on that. Is it all right if we have you tune out then, Angela, and then we'll text you and bring you back in?
Okay. Yeah, even messenger me.
Okay, yeah, I will.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Angela. Okay, so that leaves how many of us that still have quorum? Because we do have a vote. We have 1, 2, 3, myself 4, so we're good. Is that right, Salvatore? We're all right?
We don't have quorum, but in this instance, when board members have to excuse themselves due to a conflict, we just vote with the remaining members that are here.
Absolutely. So we're good. Excellent. Does everybody understand what Salvatore is bringing to the table as far as the budget and what the ask is? We're all good? Well, then I'll read a motion. The motion is very specific. It's a motion to approve spending of $37,450 if and when outstanding grants are successful to cover the costs above the approved budget of $6,000 plus any cost overruns. Do we have a seconder? Okay, let's say Nicholas, a seconder, and all in favor. It looks like we have 4 of us all in favor, so it's approved. Thank you very much. Mr. Salvatore, we can bring folks back. Thank you, everybody. Welcome back, Angela.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Kristi.
Thanks, everybody. So did you guys handle the budget 2022 amended approval as well?
No.
Okay, so that's next on our list.
All right, this is more of a technicality coming from the city in terms of how they would like the motion to be worded because we are budgeted at a deficit. So they would just need a motion that says we approve the 2022 budget with the deficit being covered by funds in our operating surplus reserves. And this is just to make a distinction between taking things out of our assets versus our operating reserves.
Sorry, Kristi, I think you're on mute on us. Sorry.
Thank you. I was. So run that motion by me one more time, just so I'm sure I have it correct.
Yep. To approve the 2022 budget with the deficit being covered by funds in our operating surplus reserves.
My apologies for not having that queued up for everyone. I did have it, and then my computer went down right before the meeting started, and I missed opening that file back up. So thank you for that, Salvatore. So I will put a motion before the board to approve the 2022 budget with a deficit to be covered by funds in our operating surplus reserve. Do I have a seconder on that? Paul Scornaienchi. All in favor? That is everyone. That's 6 votes. Thank you. Motion is carried. Next item is our OBIAA conference bid discussion. Salvatore, if you want to start us off.
Yes, so I've heard back from OBIA and they are quite interested in having us host the conference. They just wanted the board to consider a couple things before there's a decision made. And the biggest hurdle right now is that they're hurting a little bit from the last couple of years, as most nonprofits are. And their biggest concern is that when they've traditionally held one of these events in the north, their revenues have declined significantly. So there was 2 asks by them. One is if we could look at ways to try and offset those costs. And I did the way it was suggested was looking at funding. So I reached out to 5 different organizations, NOHFC, FedNor, EDC, the Chamber, and TDF. And the time between that, putting that word out and this meeting, I heard back that there's possible money from NOHFC. EDC is a possibility.
I got to stop you, Salvatore.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to excuse myself from this discussion as well. I apologize. I did not realize that this was the context of this item on the agenda. And Paul, I'm going to ask you to take over as chair again, okay?
For sure. And Angela, I'm going to assume you're the same.
Same, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, folks.
Okay, thank you.
So sorry, Salvatore. It is in context and it's just perceived, right? So, and we need to be transparent. So we're
Yeah,
respecting Kristi and Angela with that. But go ahead. You did nothing wrong. It's
Yeah,
just,
no, so I'll continue. So basically I've explored those three. But the question from them is, one, will we assist with trying to find the other funds? And the ask is if we would, the actual ask is if we would consider doing 2025 instead to give them the opportunity to rebuild some funds.
okay. Any questions with regard to the OBIA bid discussion? It's a financial ask and a deferral. Mr. Rosset, go ahead.
So I'm just wondering, did you hear back after you asked any of those organizations?
Yes, so NOHFC has one program, the Community Event Stream, which will fund up to 30% of eligible costs, which would have to be figured out with them. That was from our contact, or the city's contact with NOHFC. FedNor I haven't heard back from. With economic development, they do fund projects through the EDC for up to 100,000. The only stipulation is they're willing to assist us in trying for that, but they are not sure. They don't have any records of an event or a conference, I should say, getting funding for it. So it's possible, but there's no history. The TDF, it could be anywhere between 2,500 to 20,000. It's at least probably going to be 2,500 from the discussions I've had, but depending on how they interpret our application, it could be upwards of 20,000. And the other one was the Chamber of Commerce, which I had reached out to, but I didn't get any feedback from in time for the meeting.
Okay. Do we have any context as to, like, they're alluding to a decline in revenue because, you know, I just assume less attendance and everything else. Do we have an idea of how much we're talking about here?
I think what they're looking at, like, there's already a sponsorship fee of 10,000 that's required. So they're looking to see if we can assist them with coming up with more than that. So that's what their suggestion was. We reach out to some organizations. They didn't specifically say, like, we want the association to pay X amount of dollars from their budget. They just wanted to essentially make the board be aware that there is extra costs in bringing the conference to the north.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's just if we can make up that shortfall, maybe we don't have to defer it. Just like, are we in shooting range if we got funding from those organizations, or are we still going to be low?
Yeah, I could follow up with that comment. What I could suggest is that, like, we see what kind of shortfall they need, and if it's something we could match, we would like to proceed for 2024. If it's beyond what the programs will do, then we would defer to 2025.
That's what I'm thinking. That I'd prefer not to defer if we can find a way around it.
Thank you, Nicholas. Paul Mason, I saw your hand up there, my friend.
What's the ask? What's the number they're looking for? Like they ask for additional funding. They want like $2,000, $5,000, $10,000. What's the number that they're looking for?
They didn't give an actual number. They're essentially just looking for funds above the 10,000, and they wanted to know if we're going to assist them in trying to find those funds.
Well, I assume we're going to do that. Just it'd be nice if they had an idea of what they're looking for. Mm-hmm. But I'm Paul with Nick. I'm of the mind of let's try to get some more money, get it happen 2024. I don't really want to defer this.
Thank you, Paul. Kelly?
I agree with not deferring if at all possible. Just something to add on to the list of potential opportunities to help offset some of the costs is asking the participating hotels, those that are providing accommodations, to build in a kickback per se to to the organization. So as an example, you could add on $10 to the rate, and at the end of the conference, $10 from each room night would be awarded back to this event.
Thank you, Kelly. Again, Mr. Rosset, go ahead, Nicholas.
Thanks. So it just popped into my mind though, if we do decide that deferring is what we're going to need to do, I guess, can we get some kind of commitment from them to acknowledge that, you know, we are the winner for, you know, whatever year that we end up having to defer to, just to make sure we don't lose our place in line, I guess.
Yes, I could express that to their executive director, that if we were to defer, we would like some type of confirmation that we're not just deferring to another round of entries.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you.
Hey, thank you. So Salvatore, I believe, you know, the board is asking that you contact OBIA with the confirmation as to where or how much is that requirement, how it will end up being spent. It seems as though it's monies that are going to OBIA. Not sure how that gets divvied up to individuals who'll be attending the conference, because it seems as though their concern is the number of individuals that would attend the conference. But while you're gathering that information, I'm thinking, because this board is in hopes that it's in 2022, that we look at the other direction as far as an attraction. Maybe we should be looking at some of our outside partners and creating some sort of dynamic tour of some sort, whether it be Agua, whether it be something that would entice, you know, the individuals that OBIA has fear that they wouldn't be attending this conference, that would bring those individuals to Sault Ste. Marie to strut our stuff. So, you know, as much as that we're looking at it on a balance sheet point of view, I think that we should be looking at it as a hospitality point of view, because I have a feeling that there'll be a few individuals who will say, would love to do that in the Soo, I'll go. So I'm thinking that maybe we should look at that direction too. Okay, any other questions? Say, oh, okay. So again, we're gonna ask you to be busy with your texting and messaging there, Salvatore. Thank you, everyone. Again, welcome back, Angela.
Thank you.
Hi, Kristi, welcome back. Let's have you on mute still, I think.
Hi, thanks everyone. So I take it then we're moving on to subcommittee updates. Excellent. First up is finance. The finance subcommittee hasn't met, but I think we've had a rather thorough discussion of all things finance in tonight's regular agenda items. So I think unless anyone has any objections, we can skip over that. Okay. Service sector subcommittee is next up. Kelly.
We had no major changes over last meeting, so nothing new to report.
Okay, thank you. Communications, Angela.
Just that I did have a chance to review the AGM package. There were some typo, like just a few edits here or there. And I've also been plugging the AGM as well. I did have a chance to mention it as well at the Chamber of Commerce event that I was a panelist at yesterday. So there was about 70 people in attendance there. So I did mention it there as well.
Excellent, thank you. Anyone have any questions for Angela? Sorry, I'll turn off my phone. Next is events. So our event subcommittee has met. And I know the events calendar for 2022 was circulated. I can share my screen. There we go. Can everyone see that? Is it showing for everybody? Perfect. Okay. So as a part of that discussion, we went through and confirmed all of the events that we have on our calendar this year, with a couple of sort of capacity building add-ons that were suggested by our colleague Paul Mason. A couple of great add-ons that we're going to use to program some of our larger events. One of which was we've had the folks from the radio control car group. Sorry, Paul, interrupt me if I'm describing it incorrectly. There's a local enthusiast group, if you will, of radio control car enthusiasts that would express interest in doing some kind of demo or race during one of our street party events. So that I think will be a great add-on. And we also discussed incorporating some more pet-friendly. I know we've previously discussed as a board promoting our pet-friendly persona or branding, if you will, as an organization. So that was discussed as well. And forgive me, Salvatore, what am I missing? Mason?
You're missing
Go ahead, Paul.
The Sault Ste. Marie Red Line group. So it's like those BMWs, hot cars. They're really interested in doing something as well.
Yes,
they really want to do something.
That organization is a fast and fancy car enthusiast organization.
Excellent, yes.
In layperson's terms. But we discussed at the subcommittee level opportunities to incorporate that programming as well in some of our larger events. And I think that was it. Salvatore, was there anything else?
I think that's the majority of it. Yeah.
So we have a full calendar this year. We have a great events calendar with some opportunity to supplement with, I think, some smaller ad hoc things that come up. And we are, of course, partnering with Kathy Fisher at the Ermitinger Clerg for one of our larger events. And we're discussing another fall event potentially as well with Kathy. So we'll keep everyone posted on that. But does anyone have any questions or anything that I can bring back to the subcommittee? Paul Scornaienchi, your hand's up.
Just one thing, and it's only because I saw it as part of the package. I'm not sure if it was part of this or maybe the AGM, but it's been 2 years and we sometimes need retraining. And you know, these events don't transpire unless we have a significant amount of volunteers, to which we should be, you know, going out and talking to individuals and enticing them to be part of this team. And as well, sponsorships. We can't do this without the sponsorship. So I think if we start early, because, you know, the first one is actually, you know, not really a sponsored one on May 14th on the cleanup, but they come up fast. And I think as a board and all of the individuals that we know, we can entice individuals to assist.
Thank you, Paul. Angela, your hand was up.
Yeah, I apologize for missing the subcommittee meeting. I had issues. I didn't get the link or missed the link. I'm not sure, but anyways.
I might have been the one that sent the link, so that might have been my fault. I apologize.
But one thing I did want to mention, if you are needing volunteers, is reaching out to the high schools, because a lot of them are trying to get their hours completed. So maybe sending something to the school boards as well.
I think staff have already started those communications. That was something we discussed at the meeting. My apologies.
Great. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, so my last comment before we move on, thank you, Paul, for the reminder, is that yes, our volunteer components are essential to making these events a success, especially some of our larger ones. There is a sign-up sheet that will be circulated. We gently expect that all of our board directors will kindly volunteer for at least one event. Certainly the more the merrier. I know we all have busy schedules, but the community has been missing these events, and we really want to make sure that they are getting our full attention and really get brought back with a bang, if you will. We want to regain that momentum that we really had going back in 2020 when we had to screech everything to a halt. So we really want to step back in at full steam. So I will be volunteering, and I will be calling you all and putting you on the spot to put your name down on a calendar and make sure that we have your commitment to help out as well. And certainly if anyone knows of anyone else in the community that would be interested in volunteering, we are always happy to have volunteers. It doesn't have to be high school students, although we certainly love to have some high school students, but anyone that's looking to participate and would be willing to volunteer, we would love to hear from them. So please direct them to call the office and get their name on our roster of volunteers. Paul Mason, your hand's up. Go ahead,
yes,
Paul.
So it's strongly recommended that executive volunteer for an event or 2 or 3. But as for additional volunteers, non-high school, I got talking to some of my neighbors who are new to Soo or moved back who want to get involved more. It's tough to break into Soo. And I've talked to 4 people so far who want to get involved, like parents or professionals who want to just for an afternoon or a day to get involved, see what's going on. I think it's a great way to get more qualified volunteer help of people who want to help out and are willing to get involved, not because they have to, because they want to. I think reaching out to our friends and family that way is also a great way to do it as well.
That's a great suggestion, Paul. Thank you for that. Perhaps Nicholas and Salvatore can ensure maybe our local immigration partnership contacts are on our contact list when we're putting out our request for volunteers, and any other community organizations we can think of that might be willing to circulate that request for us. That'd be great. Awesome. Anything else then? Angela, go ahead.
If at our major events, it might be a good idea to have either some posters or print pieces that people can take that will be promoting the upcoming events, or encourage people to take a picture of it just so that we get return visitors and partakees. Is that a word? I'm not sure, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Anything else then? Okay, thanks everyone. We'll move on to beautification then. Paul?
Well, I really didn't do very much this month at all, and probably good for me. Yeah, exactly. So I don't really have anything to report, unfortunately. I apologize for that. Wasn't as though I wasn't doing anything, but there's really nothing new except for just catching up and having a few of those others transpire, i.e. the alley lights with Public Utilities Commission and that financial ask, and just a whole bunch of small things, but nothing new. But I'll take questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Paul? Paul Mason, go ahead.
A small thing, Paul. At our event, you're talking about having a Woodstock or a doggy type event, and that jogged my memory of what having dog poop bags downtown. I know we discussed it many times the past few years. I wonder if there's any way you could bring it to the city, say, what's the stance on that? Is there room in our budget to do this, or would that be responsibility of the city? So probably on PUC poll. So just to find out what's going on with having doggy bags downtown, because I see them on Hub Trail in my area a lot, but it'd be great to have it downtown. Because I noticed the past year, especially the past winter, with all the garbage cans downtown, it's been a lot cleaner.
Okay, so
just
I,
put-
I believe that's very similar to a former ask or a former question that you had posed. So what I did was I called the BIA in Cambridge because they were one of the first ones who adopted, the whole pet-friendly downtown, and I asked them, how they perform that, and they indicated that they found it best not to go through the municipality or the PUC or anything, just to have the bag sponsored by some private sector pet value type firm, and that those doggy bags would go to the membership. So as the member receives an individual or tends to a customer that has a pet, that they would automatically give them it was free to them, a free to their customer roll of bags so that they could utilize them. Hopefully they use them downtown, right? I don't know if we can stop that or entice that. I think that all pet owners are very responsible regardless, but at least, it's coming from the member as opposed to being strapped to a pole and help yourself. And I think that's a smart idea, and it's something that we can have transpire for sure.
Great. Anything else
okay.
then? Okay,
Um,
Kelly?
Sorry, we offer this along the boardwalk already through the city. Is there, anything holding us back just from asking the city to extend that service to the downtown core?
Yeah, I suppose that we could extend it that way as well. We can do it both ways. Yeah, for sure. I'll have that. I'll do that ask of the city as well.
Paul Mason?
I'm having our members have and in stores great, but my concern is after hours. People don't know this. They're walking by, the dog does it for business. Why not have it right accessible 24/7 rather than having to go into a store if it's open to get a doggy bag. It's after hours. I think it's on the hub trail on the boardwalk all the time. I think it's advantageous to have it both for retailers and readily available to anyone as well.
For sure. Well taken. Understood.
Thank you. Anyone else then? Okay, thank you, Paul.
Well, thank you.
New business. Salvatore, did we have anything?
No.
No, we didn't. So if no one else has any other comments or questions, I will move that we adjourn. Does anyone have anything to add? I look forward to seeing all of you at the AGM tomorrow. So I move to adjourn the meeting. Can I get a seconder? Paul Mason, all in favor? That was a heavy agenda. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night. See you tomorrow.
I'll see
Good
you
night.
tomorrow.
Be well.
Take care, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you.